Hello. I just wanted to come on here to share a little bit of my story. Um, so originally I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I spent my whole life growing up in Albuquerque. I wouldn't say that I had the worst upbringing, but I definitely had some struggles and some roadblocks and just a lot of things in general that really had me oppressed. Generational curses, neglect, um, rejection, all kinds of different stuff throughout my whole life growing up. Um, just anything from drugs to violence to abuse to neglect to suicide to just so many different circumstances. um, I was 10 years old when my sister Melissa passed away. She was murdered at the age of 16 due to drugs, I believe. Um, and then having to really witness my mom uh, go through that, losing her daughter, was really, really traumatic because in the sense of her losing her daughter, she really kind of just checked out of life. And I'm not going to say abandon us, but she was there, but she wasn't there mentally. Over time or over the years, she ended up turning to, well, she already had issues with drinking, but it just intensified 10 times worse. And she just got consumed in that lifestyle of partying and just alcohol and domestic violence. Um, I know over for a period of time, I witnessed my mom getting beat up by partners that she had, and that was very traumatizing and just wasn't a good scene to see repetitively growing up. My dad was there, but he wasn't there. He was into drugs. He was a heroin addict for as long as I could remember. Um, he he was a good man, but not a great father. I felt myself chasing after my dad, wanting to have a relationship with him. And for the most part, our relationship was pretty good considering. Sometimes now I question that because at that time, good for me was just seeing him. And no matter what state he was in, whether it was in whether he was on drugs or not, whether he was drunk or not, for me, good was just seeing him, right? So I don't know if that was like a healthy relationship, but it was a relationship that I knew, that I wanted, that I felt good. Um, and the same thing with my mom. I really didn't establish a, a closeness with her until after my adulthood. Then I started getting really close to her. Um, and just God bless her heart. She took care of us the best way that she knew how to. Overall, she was a really good mom. Just we were put into situations that were, like I said, traumatizing. Um, so growing up, I really didn't have good role models to follow, and the essence of making sure I was making good wise decisions. It was just a spiral of um, alcoholics, drugs, and just really being um, stuck in victim mentality and poverty mentality, meaning that we couldn't stay, we couldn't grow further than what we were because we were so oppressed to what our normal actually was. Um, Me and my brother used to fight a lot, so it's the it's kind of hard talking about about that part of my life because I didn't understand why things are happening the way that they were, why we would fight, my brother and I would fight so much. And I know that a lot of it had to do with just them drinking. Um, but for the most part, I mean, that's basically my upbringing. Me, so I grew up already with all kinds of like aloneness and not good enough, unworthiness. Um, I just felt like I didn't really belong in any situation that I was in. I felt real like insecure in my own body. I felt ugly. I felt really uh like nobody really cared about me. Um and a lot of that had to do with just what I went through, what I experienced. I ended up and I think the reason why I felt like that, especially going into my adulthood, was because of what I went through as a kid, right? So when I was, I think 12 or 11, I was diagnosed with seizures. I had grand mal seizures, and I've had that for the extent of my teens. So that was really traumatizing to me because I had to deal with kids in school having seizures, and then kids can be mean sometimes, like really mean. Kids would make fun of me, would pretend like they were having a seizure, and just even my family would, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them would make fun of me because I would have seizures. And that did something to me. That added on to my already feeling like I didn't belong. And I didn't really understand why I was going through what I was going through. And it was really hard. And I think one thing that I held on to for the life of me was, and I don't really remember why or how it started or none of that, but I just remember that I always used to thank God for everything, everything, whether it be just for allowing me to talk or for allowing me to see or for allowing me just to breathe, just anything and everything that I could ask or thank God for. I would really be thanking God. Even in the worst situations, I would be thanking God. And it was like that for the longest time growing up. And so it was just really hard. I remember as a kid, I used to see my mom and my dad when they were together, always fighting or getting into like some crazy. They would take us to like the parties that they would go to, and we used to go to like biker parties. And I mean, I seen things there that I wish I could unsee because it was so traumatizing. It's like, wow. So you grow up seeing all this betrayal and all this stuff happening to you where it affects you because you feel like you can't trust nobody also. So anyways, I had to grow up with the seizures thing, and a lot of kids made fun of me. My brother made fun of me. Everybody, like, it seemed like everybody was making fun of me. And I don't really want to sound like I'm doing like a pity party kind of thing, because I'm not. I'm just trying to share a testimony of where God brought me out of. Um, so yeah, kids would just make fun of me, and it would just be so heartbreaking because I would find myself in my room just crying and crying, wishing that I wasn't alive. Um, and it just seemed like things that had to do with my body was happening to me. And it really broke me. I mean, I don't know how many times you could be broke, but throughout my whole life, I've been broken so many times, and I just didn't understand like what was happening, or when would a new chapter begin and the other one end, because it seemed like it was always bad, like bad things were constantly happening to me. Um, and then going into my adulthood, I ended up getting Bell's palsy, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's whenever the right side of your face paralyzes. Now, this is supposed to be something that was temporarily and it goes away. Well, mine's didn't. Mine is still paralyzed. And that's another insecurity that I have. And I'm trying to really give it to God, because sometimes I feel insecure about that to this day. Um, Having a relationship with my children. I have 4 children. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. Right now in my life, I'm really struggling with having that relationship with my daughter. She's my only daughter, and I just she's so near and dear to my heart, and it's just I want to give her everything that I didn't have, as far as like emotionally, um, just to let her know that I'm here and that I love her. Um, but then I see that brokenness in her. She's so broken. My kid's dad passed away, so I'm sure that a lot of that has something to do with how she looks at me now. And I just really have to give it to God, but sometimes it's really, really hard to. And I know I'm kind of speeding through my testimony here. There's so many more things that I could say about my upbringing. Um, I mean, there was bad, but there definitely was good. Um, I just really come from a broken, broken, broken family. Of They're just so stuck in the poverty mentality. And even like before, I always used to feel like I was competing with my siblings. I mean, something good would happen and they would try to up me, and in a way it was funny at the time, but it was so unhealthy, because it's like we should be encouraging and uplifting, but we're real competing, 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 and that's not good. So the brokenness in the family really kind of distorted my way of thinking, and I feel like it kind of pushed me away from them, because I didn't want to be like that. Not that I'm better, and I get that too from my family. Oh, you think you're better, you moved and this and that, and it's not even that. It's just that I don't want to be a part of negativity. I don't want to be a part of the complaining or the the victim mentality. I just want to have a really peaceful life serving the Lord. And I know Granted, it's not always going to be all lovey-dovey type of moments. We all go through all kinds of struggles in our life, and it's hard to get through those struggles because sometimes we get so consumed that we can't figure out how to get out of that. Um, but one thing that I really honestly thank God for is just getting me through everything that I've ever went through. That even in the moments where I felt like he wasn't there, he was. And even in the moments where I felt so unloved, he was there comforting me and loving me through all of it, through every single moment of it. Because now looking back, I don't think that I would have been strong enough to get through half of what I went through. But by the grace of God, He carried me through so much things, and even protected me from things that are unseen. Because how many of you know that once we step out those doors, we're not promised tomorrow, first of all. But when you walk out those doors, the enemy is trying to get at you. He's trying to steal, kill, and destroy, and he will. And he ain't even kidding. He wants to kill you because he wants your soul. And I really believe that God protects us from the schemes of the enemy if we allow him. And it's just so anyways, it's been a long road to freedom. And I mean, and in it all, uh past relationships, past marriages, people coming in and out of your life, you it's so easy to get lost in that mess and really try to figure out what your purpose in life is. And the way I see it is that everything that we go through, God definitely turns around for good. Everything. Even the most traumatizing, even the most hurtful, or even the things that we really don't understand in the moment, but we're going through it because that's just who we are. God turns it around and He blesses you 10 times more in ways that we couldn't even imagine. We could not even imagine. And I know that I'm in a place in my life right now where I feel really content and I feel really, really happy. I feel happy that I have a man of God, that God blessed me with such an important person in my life that balances me, that shows me my worth, my beauty in ways that I've never known. And I'm telling you, like, God really does use people to show us that He does not make no mistakes. Him creating you the way He created you is beautiful. There's no imperfections. And that's something that I also had to learn because I was so insecure and I felt like I was so unworthy to be loved or to be liked or to be friends, befriended, anything. I just felt like I needed to keep myself isolated in a room forever. That I didn't have nothing good to give because I always failed at everything, whether it was a marriage, a friendship, school. Dropped out in ninth grade because life just was so hard for me at that moment. I was locked up. I was locked up, yes, for a whole year. Um, for vandalizing my school. So crazy. There's so many things that happen. And but God will use it for our good, and a lot of life lessons that happen. And again, I apologize. I'm just scheming right through my whole entire testimony. But sometimes I sit here and I just reflect on the goodness of God and what He's brought me out of and what He's doing in my family right now. I mean, we lost people along the way, we gained family, but in the end, we need each other. I think that if I had somebody to go to when I was young, that I would have had a different perspective on a lot of things. Instead, I was exposed to just so many darkness all the way around in my life. And like I said, there was good and there's bad. Um, but you honestly have to really choose whether you're going to consume yourself in your mess, or if you're really going to use the test as a testimony to share with other people, to be heard, and to bring people hope through your story. And that's why I'm here now. I've been resenting from making this video, but I really feel like it's that time. We need to come out of the box. We need to prepare our hearts. We need to look at each other as just a vessel that, you know what? She's been there, and look at her. She still has that attitude of gratitude. And I know, and I know that God is just so absolutely amazing. He is amazing. Our problems are so small to him, but he can turn anything. He can turn it around just like that, because you're worth it, because you matter, and because you are a child of God. Took me a long time to really let that soak in my head, because I am so stubborn and I don't like to believe this or believe that. And I wrestle with God a lot growing up in my life. But at the end of the day, now that I am where I am now, the calmness of my storm that I've had throughout my whole life has finally calmed. And God is really speaking to me in ways that I just can't imagine. But I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful because I'm alive and I'm here to talk about it with you guys. So I pray that this has blessed you, and just know that there's people out there who have went before you, who have paved the way for you, and that have stories, testimonies to share that will not only bring back that hope that you lost, but will also give you a new perception, I guess you would say, a new view on how you look at circumstances. So we should confuse the enemy, confuse them, and start praising Jesus in the middle of our storm. Start praising God and telling God, you know what, God, I'm not feeling this right now. So many bad things are happening right now in my life and I don't understand. I can't even feel you near me. But I'm going to praise you because I know who you are. I know how big you are. And I know the promises that you had for me, that you have for me, that I know that you go before me, that you've already went before me and you already made a way. I know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And I know that I was chosen for such a time as this. And I'm willing. I am a willing vessel. Knowing that, that's all I need. That's all I need to get me through. So when the enemy comes back in, because the enemy will come back in like a flood, but God will always rise up that standard. It's the decision that we make. Whether are we going to praise God through this storm? Are we going to fall victim and drown in our pity? Guys, don't drown. Life is too precious. God has given us so much to be thankful for. I love you guys, and I pray that you guys are blessed by this. And like I said, I apologize for scheming through my testimony. There's so much more. There's so much more. But just know this, that God loves you. He's with you. And He goes with you wherever you go. Stay blessed.